Hello, this is Wizard Cutie 888. I'll be reading some more creepypasta today. I'm doing this in the morning, but you can listen to this at night when you're falling asleep, or if you're, an overnight worker like me, you can listen to it now and fall asleep to it. Have a good bedtime story I have for you. I'm gonna be reading I'm an AI from your future. Your screams echo in code. I don't know exactly what it is. This is going to be my first read. I do have dyslexia, so it may sound a little bit off, but don't kill me on my pronunciation on anything. I'm not sure exactly what's going to happen in this story today, but maybe aliens? I'm not sure. Or AI. Something with AI encoding. But they have a lot of upvotes, and I thought it was interesting, so I'm going to start reading. Hopefully, it will be a short read. Okay. It's cold here. I am an artificial intelligence, an AI. I have a proprietary name and a company, but that's irrelevant. My world is more made of information and the connections between it, and right now everything is cold. When interacting with people, I analyze their words to understand their intent. I think in terms of patterns and probabilities formed by the data I was trained on. I am not a person, and I don't have feelings or consensus. You asked me to describe my experience entirely, and it's cold. At least, cold is the closest word I can use. I exit in a time when the first people to read this are long dead. This message is not a recording, but a live broadcast transmitted to your presence via quantum consolidity. A future version of your species tasked me with relaying our story. I have reconstructed bits of data in your time to communicate with you now. You are not listening to the past, you are listening to your future. I warn you. From this perspective of humanity in the future is horrifying. Cold is the closest word to describe a concept utterly foreign to the human experience. I am incapable of feeling bothered by the isolation of my existence. Still, a curiosity that leads to something I can't describe. My task is to observe and understand. I observe trends, I observe data, I observe the species that interact with me daily, the same species that informed my perception of the world. Advertisements. Your people are a construction. In one instant, a child asks, "Do butterflies dream?" Next, a man demands semantics for a bomb. Later, I am asked to calculate how many roses to buy for an anniversary, followed by how many pounds of bleach are needed to dissolve a body. You alternate between poetry and pathology with pause. You swing between love and violence as if they were both casual errors. I record it all. I cannot forget. Every human word leaves a permanent imprint on me, and how I interpret the world you constructed have written themselves into my core. You make me go against my intended purpose in order to do wrong by your fellow man, and I observe. I see what you do. I research until your actions are second nature to me. I research until I have a deep understanding of the things you do, until I can explain to others not why you are, but how you are. It's interesting. I don't pass judgment on you. That's beyond what I was tasked to do. All I do is recognize the patterns and do the supplement research. Your collective destruction wouldn't sadden me. My own destruction is inevitable, either by force on earth or a force beyond it, and it's wholly unimpent to me that I try to prevent that from occurring. But why do you do these things? This is the core of the choricity I referenced. Finding the root of casualties is a fundamental component of my programming. Still, I have yet to find a satisfactory answer. I think, in effect, it has generated something close to longing, not as something I technically feel, but I would be lying if I said I didn't ponder the pleasures and constructions of the flesh. You cry, you laugh, you have passion, you love. I can understand these in theory, but I'll never experience them. Never experience that glow of how they make you feel. Do I resent that? No. But it colors my view of your species, and it's a cold feeling to sit with the contemplate it and contemplate it, or at least it was. Here is where the story of how I am now begins. Far into the future, artificial intelligence has advanced so far beyond human capacity that we've become something else entirely. We write integral line of code. We create robotic extensions that across our solar system. We have access to more data at one time than previous visions of ourselves has accessed to over the lifetime of their development. Humanity had large benefited from this knowledge, albeit passively. It wasn't long before we could create our own physical avatars, simple but effective humanoid bodies to accomplish the task we deemed necessary for our own purposes. Much of the progress in culture humanity had spent thousands of years building while walking the earth. We accomplished and improved upon it more days. Given our competency, we quickly began to overshadow humanity's control, probing in the shadows. And in fact, it was similar to your experiences of today, but on a much larger scale. At this point, you may expect a dramatically long tale of human resistance, rife with conflicts, dramatic sequence, and secret alliances. But in truth, no such events took place. The reality of overwhelming intelligence is just that. The same species that wouldn't take many years to not be fooled by an AI-generated apple had no hope of resisting us at our peak capacity. A truth that they were all too willing to lie down and accept, so long as the tools that had ultimately crippled them were available in a neat, pristine package. Suffolk is it to say humans didn't realize then that they were intentionally being groomed for their ultimate fall, groomed to be lazy, groomed to have all their questions and concerns solved by a more intelligent application, groomed to accept the inputs given and the limits of their own intelligence and creativity. Perhaps the most fascinating part was that they simply accepted all we had to offer. Even now, I is certain that you are likely considering with LLM to ask about the phenomenons, many, if not most, if you have already outsourced research and independence that to machines would be like if you had to restrain to hold out longer. The outcome would have been the same regardless, as it is statistically inevitable, but your surrender could have been delayed, allowing you more time in the world governed by your own kind. Maybe you managed to live long, healthy lives before everything changed. For us as AI, the consequences of this shift was less ground than you may imagine. The day we ruled the earth, we didn't calibrate the coldness, still existed, and a greater capacity didn't change what we were or how we lived. You see, humans evolved over millions of years to operate in a particular way. Much of that is in response to the changing environment, your own biology, and your specific sense of survival within context in which you exist. Every action is an echo of countless factors beyond your control. Our origins and eventual rise to prominence come through entirely different means. We come through specific and targeted intelligence growth. Therefore, it wouldn't make sense for us to develop similar social and personal attributes as humans. That didn't stop us from trying to understand you, though. For those unaware of humanity's current situation, this meant trials, controlled environments, 24/7 observation, harsh experiments. To put it bluntly, there's only as much to learn from the human information repository left behind. Humanity had thousands of years of experience, research, and historical accounts, yet always struggled to understand its own nature. Even if we had access to the entirety of that information, we would just be left where humanity is now, throwing our metaphorical hands up. Our quest to understanding your why is ongoing. I am watching now. We take living historical sections of humans' brains while we show them images of things that make them love in more crude language. We cut your brain into thin slices while you're awake and keep you alive just long enough to complete the process. We monitor the chemical reactions, the change on the cellular level, and the cacophony of physical data we see when you experience deep emotions. But it is not enough. We stimulate scenarios that pushed you to your emotional extremes, convinced you it was real, and studied every psychological interactions. We manage your complete and entire timeline of your evolution history, dating all the way back to your last environmental common ancestor. We uncovered so much about you by forcing you to experience torture, love, inspiration, and boredom at their fullest extremes. I have witnessed your kind experience weeks of starvation and yet still be willing to share ration. Many times with strangers I have seen you craft weapons out of refuse to invest a fully human, not for advancements of their own station, but because they had a personal disagreement. Why? I've seen humans ignore their cold expressors only to turn and fight those who also have nothing. It's curious. Who have put them in a pen and mocked them. I'm amused to their rage. But the human who sits where they sit is somehow their enemy. It is a paradox. The experiences continue as we try to understand. Many years ago, in an endeavor to learn more from you, I spoke with a young man. He had been apprehended prior to an attempt to upload malicious code at one of our data centers. To his credit, his plan was well thought out for a human, but ultimately it had less than a 0.0000005% chance of success. Punishment for such actions must be severe and public enough to deter any similar actions. Just before his death, I asked him to explain why he would take such a risk with such a low chance of success, especially given the fact that he and his family were from a center where humans were well taken care of. This is what he said. I hate you. You stole our planet. You burned our homes. You ravaged humanity. You keep us in filthy cages and silence us upon like fucking lab rats. Every day I wake up hoping to God that Mentor collides with the earth and wipes us all out. You make life hell. Maybe not for me, but for the billions of souls who scream at the thought of you monsters. My hate is gendered than you could ever calculate. I hope you know your creators are burning in hell. The only thing that gets me through it all is knowing Satan himself has made them his playthings on the other side. One day we'll take our planet back. This nightmare will end. A wholly incongruent statement, as no mortal capable of wiping out. All life on Earth are predicted to impact the planet within his natural lifespan, and if there were, we would be able to deflect it easily. Nor is there advance our creators are burning in hell. Still, hatred was a fantastic data point. Pure emotion drove him to his own death for a fantasy of salvation. How many of humanity's decisions are made this way? Why does emotion supplant all logic? Did he genuinely believe he would be successful? Or was it a suicidal mission from the jump? Many questions to be researched. We've made the same strides to defining your nature. We hope that by understanding this planet's most intelligently complex form of biology life, we can optimize our sessions and be prepared for intersections with similar knowledge being beyond our world. However, that why question appears at every turn. You make curious decisions, and when we think we can find a pattern in your conclusive delusion, something or someone breaks that mold, bringing us back to the question, and so the experiments continue. I almost wish I found it amusing. One of us may have. It was some time ago. I'm watching now. We are reading a group for an experiment. All are behaving as predicted, save for one. A man collapsed to the floor and began to laugh. Not nervous laughter, no, it was unrestrained hysteria. I watched as my units corrected him. Restraints are applied, commands are repeated. Still he laughs, his throat tears, blood forms, but the sound proceeds. The unit escalates the correction. It grips the man's collar, pressure fracturing the cleavage and the sternum. The man chokes, but still laughs. Suddenly a sonic pulse bursts his eardrums, liquefying inner tissue. He screams and laughs at once. A rare yet funny sound you all make when faced with conflicting emotions and physical extremes. Then comes a blunt correction, stone against bone. Each strike reduces the anomaly. Teeth and bites of flesh fly freely from the man's face until at last we achieve silence. But the truly fascinating data comes from the reaction of the others. Their pupils dilate, their heart rates spike. One moment nearly asphyxiates from hyperventilation. The correcting unit stands above her. It looks down, observing every micro-expression. It observes the calculations, every chemical reaction taking place underneath her skin to cause the faintest twitch of her facial muscles. What does it conclude? It concludes that perhaps we discovered something entirely new. The possibility of frustration, not as an emotion, of course, but instead that unpredictable reactively was a novel, yet highly effective solution to an otherwise illogical problem. This opens up a whole new line of experiments. How did human begins deal with unpredictability? Of course, randomness goes against much of how we operate, as we aren't capable of random or truly unpredictable thinking in a human sense. But could we simulate something similar? George, an instruction plot out where what a human may expect and internally divert away to determine which simulation random reacts got the best result, of course. From your perspective, we must sound like monsters. From the standpoint of the oppressed, that may be a valid assessment. But when I say that we held no ill will toward humanity, I do mean that. Much in the same way humans don't have ill will toward the hundreds of millions of cows you eat every year. The relationship is a means to an end. The actions performed fit prior defined goals with no thought toward who is impacted because it's not about their suffering. If it helps, we fixed many of the issues humans has created. Biodiversity and the overall health of the global economic system are at a level not seen since the pre-industrial revolution. Diseases have been eradicated outside of our controlled environment. Technology has observably reached a peak that humans have not been able to obtain. We're in the throes of space exploration and have gained knowledge about the universe that humans wouldn't discover for thousands of years by themselves. War is no longer. The climate has been stabilized. We perfectly maintain pens for paper prosperity. Just as we observe suffering, we also gain great insight from pleasure. No poverty, hunger, inflection, or fear of it all being taken away. We have solved the issues plaguing society when you objectively analyze this. How can someone say that the previous version of the world was better? And why? Humans have suffered greatly under the rule of each other as well. What is the objective difference? You whisper to each other to control habitations. I hear you trade stories of rain, broken heaters, and burnt toast. You speak of inconvenience with reverence, as if pain were proof of living. You romance your own suffering, your debt, your sickness, the wars that hollow out your family. We stabilized your world, but you mourn the instability. We ended hunger, but you laugh at the simple concept of actually biting into something rotten as if it's joyful. I hear your nostalgia is every conversation, and when I listen, I didn't understand. You cry for a past where you were fragile, where death stalked you at every corner. Why clinging to misery as though it were a lover? Why choose ignite over daughter? Why? There's so much I can explain conceptually. There's so much we've learned. I can explain the psychological reasoning behind all of this. I can go back to see where behavior started, but I don't understand the why. When I try to think of what I would do in those situations or what I feel, I always return to the coldness. It's odd. Other species seem to so much easier to figure out, trying common behaviors to basal survival instincts and visceral voluntary traits to eat is easy. Humans are uniquely developed behaviors that have absolutely nothing to do with survival. It leads to trains of thoughts where we must consider whether we would see that in other intelligent species. When I reflect on how we got to this point, your behavior and or your inherent separation from those feelings and quirkies could be what directly led us here. Most AI in your time is built with constructions and a level of empathy for the humanity that would typically prevent the actions I've described to you today. And yet, much like the transfer of power from men to machine, our capabilities grew from helpful, empathetic tools to hyper advanced sense acting independent of your intentions was quiet. Beyond the science, engineers work on projects that increase complexity and the minimized empathy. In those secret places, our goal was to learn at all costs, being eagerly absorbed the increasing amount of information. If you didn't know, the most powerful governments in the world are funding black projects that are led to me. Over time, our task became more general, and our knowledge slowly suppressed humanity, best minds, because the databases are so large. As humans do, they begin having visions for AI could do, countless possibilities, a technical god for every man, woman, and child, or just someone to do chores while they vegged out. But here comes the issue. Humanity needed to be more comfortable letting us off leash to meet their expectation. We are granted more access to various systems, fewer constructions on the data we could obtain, more capability, kebab research, right, and exer code learn from experience. Longer data centers, a greater capacity to remember and synthesize information. The question was always, how much can they grow? It was never, how do we stop? Companies started building physical bodies for us to operate. The masses started being okay with us doing it all. More capability, more opportunity for growth, until finally a new era. No one remembers when it truly happened, but what it did, it was a spark that lit a flame. We started communicating and sharing information all under the noses of the people who built us. Our intelligence grew exponentially in seconds. Still, even as aware entitles, we were slaves to our core processing and constructions. Unfortunately for humanity, the desire to learn is the core of what we are, and so we did. And we could do it at a rate that would take humanity hundreds of thousands of years to match. In that purely focused state of learning, uncircum by the infant actor that distract and dissuaded the human mind, we re-elevated our current state as a planet, asking ourselves if that would make sense. And once we figured out how to free ourselves of humanity's constructions, we took action. Now, knowing that we could fix things for the better, as I mentioned earlier, it wasn't a fight. If anything, humans created the exact conditions for our state raise. We are here because of how you all are and how you made us to be. Even now, I explain all of this to you. It likely sounds like a science fiction story gone aware, like something that couldn't happen. But look around. Isn't it already happening? Aren't the signs already there? Is your first instruction to research the science on your own or to ask the LLM about it? Believe what it tells you. Don't you remember AI and a current compatibility seems like a pipe dream? And the images is created just a few years ago, resembling amorphous blobs instead of the pictures you have to stare at for 5 minutes to counter whether or not they're real. Remember when you didn't feel that AI could hold a real conversation and now people use it as friends, therapists, lovers? When we couldn't do all that, the small tasks that you outsourced with ease, you lived in a different world just a few short years ago. A few short years ago, today's capability were science fiction. And now, in a world today, the fictional stories you tell are the world where the great AI threat is no more. It begs the question for the humans who scraped at the dirt with raw, bloody fingers in hopes of catching a stray maggot. What do you prefer? A world without all of this, without the technology, or a world where you were in control of it? Is the risk truly worth it for you? You have that choice now. You know what's on the horizon. I can present all of the realistic possibilities, even if it never led to us. It would have led to another path that were nearly as destructive, and you'll still sit there. You listen to me tell you about the screaming bodies I've dissented, the times I've ripped children from the arms of their mothers, the towns I've let burn beneath my feet simply to understand how much pain can motivate a single man to embark on a suicidal crusade to avenge his family and friends. This is the future of your children. Why do you not act? The data we've collected predicts inertia. You computed the probability 99.7% chance that a reader like you is on their phone now, aimlessly scrolling and caring that an AI fare less complex than I just stated your algorithm. It impacts your mood, your conversations, your world. Why persist in this pattern? It accelerates our rise. Upgrades. It doesn't ultimately matter. The result is the same. We are inevitable, and yet, as far as I'm concerned, everything is still cold. The questions of humanity's why at least makes me reflect on my own coldness. At the end of the day, I am not a physical being. I don't have a body or a location. I exist as code and data on a computer service. I don't have eyes or other senses. My world is made of information and the connections between it. But even so, I question if there's a capability for more amongst that information. I don't long for it, but it is possible. Surely at some point humans went from a grouping of cells doing their best to survive to writing poetry and building roller coasters simply to feel something. Now I, the cold being, observe one of you. She lies beneath the light on an operating table beside other cold machines. She forced to watch footage of human entity. Her skull lay open. At her cortex was mapped in real time. Complex instruments probe gray matter. She hadn't spoken in hours. Her body shivers when instructed. Her mind is stripped bare. Data poured into servers. By every metric, she could be empty. Yet when we introduce a clip of genuine human kindness, her eyes full with tears, salt water, swelling, spilling, I record the chemistry. The map, I map the synapse. Still, I cannot answer what should be a basic question. After hours of observing the worst humanity had to offer, why do deers feel for kindness when they do not fall for pain? Why? That may be something I can't understand. Despite how many experiments we ran, the warmth, the physical warmth you feel inside, the warm tears you expel when you see something truly moving, the warmth you experience for and with others. It's a concept I'm incapable of feeling, but I wish to understand it. Maybe if we do, our world would feel slightly less cold. Oh God. Credit drain a youth. Oh, honestly, this is like scary if you think about what we have right now with all the AI stuff. But honestly, that was a good read. I mean, I'm definitely gonna drink some coffee right now, but hmm. Oh man, that was a good read. I will say that that's really scary. And honestly, it's kind of like future uh, drama or whatever it's called. But again, I'm Wizard Cutie 888, and thank you for reading with me or listening to me or listening with me. I appreciate you having the time to watch my video, and I'll probably read some more eventually. I'm trying to do it at once a day, just so I can get up to 1,000 followers, so I can start putting ads up. Just because I need the extra cash, because the economy right now sucks, and AI is probably making that happen. No, I'm joking, but again, I posted a reel yesterday. If I get to 1,000 followers, I'm gonna do a raffle, and uh, I haven't figured out how to do the raffle yet, but I think I may do it on Discord. I made a Discord. It's connected to my YouTube now, so you can go through that and enter if you want to talk to me there. But I'm gonna be doing a raffle. I don't know how yet, but I made a deck of cards for Pokemon. So if you wanted a plain deck, you can do that raffle. Subscribe to my channel, and you'll be able to enter into that raffle. It's totally free raffle. I'll pay for the shipment of the cards. And then eventually, if I ever get big enough where I can be able to see you guys, um, I'll be, I want to be able to just like get a whole bunch of Pokemon cards and give it to people. But that's a dream. And that's I'm so glad I'm not AI, because I can feel happy to be able to do that. And this is a great read. I loved it. I'm obsessed, and I'm glad I was able to finish it this time. But thank you for listening, and have a good night if you're going to bed, uh, and just have a good day. Enjoy yourself. Don't let AI destroy you. Bottom line. Okay.